And then with technology nowadays, it's so much easier to get the message across, right? As I mentioned in the past, there's been many times I've mentioned in the past on a daily basis in my profile, you can see that there's nothing but positive videos. So it's not like I'm trying to be someone I'm not. It's what I apply on a daily basis, right? There are times when I put messages out myself. Most of the time, I'm actually putting out the messages that I come across, right? That help me on a daily basis. So how can I keep those amazing messages to myself? There's no way that I'm going to grow alone. And I want to do it. I want to do it with you all, everyone who's watching, everyone who's going to watch eventually. Because again, you're not alone. You're not alone in this. I don't care what social media does. Social media wants to portray, and the majority of people who are on social media, they're using it for the wrong purpose, right? No judgment, right? We can't judge anyone, but you do have the choice. You do have the choice. And you have the choice in terms of what content you want to come your way. You have the choice to stop scrolling and focus on you. You have the choice to mute. If you don't want to unfollow people, you actually have the option to mute. This way, you don't listen to certain soundtracks. This way, you don't come across any type of content that's not really going to fit your purpose. That's not going to fit your goal, your what you're trying to accomplish that moment, right? Or that season that you're in. So there's many things that we've been trying to do, and we have to be super careful with social media. Remember, everything is in your hands, believe it or not. Sometimes things are out of control and things are out of our control, but that's when we have to learn that the things that are out of our control, we should just let go. Don't focus or let all the energy go towards what you don't have control. Let it go towards what you do have control of. G.I. Joe, how you doing, my brother? It's a pleasure seeing you here, man. You looked out for me, and I appreciate. Man, listen, I appreciate you, bro, for all that you do. We've been working really hard on this platform. We've been working really hard just to as I mentioned before, to help each other grow, right? Wow, that's beautiful, man. I'm glad to hear you doing great, man. And we always need that reminder. No one is perfect. No one is exempt from going through it. We always need that reminder. Thank goodness for people like you, man. I appreciate it. And that really means a lot, bro. That really means a lot, man. Really. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing good, man. And your talent is beyond, aside from the DJing, please, everyone who's watching, make sure you follow G.I. Joe, DJ G.I. Joe. DJ G.I. Joe. I'm going to go ahead and pin one of his comments. Amazing individual, in and out, super talented, creating soundtracks that have meaning, nothing but pain coming out of those soundtracks. And I'm sure many can relate. Many can relate. His music is different. I'm not even trying to gas it. His music is different. Appreciate you, bro. Let me go ahead and put Pastor Carlos on. I'm sorry, guys. Give me a second. I'm going to put Pastor Carlos in. Where are we here? All right. Well, we give it a few seconds for him to join, man. Here we go. We finally got you on.
What's good, little bro? What's going on?
What's going on, man? I'm sorry. I was just busy talking. I almost missed the request, but instead I did it different because I noticed something last week. When I add you on, it basically adds you as a moderator, meaning you can actually see the comments, and I believe you have control over the live as well if I do that. So
okay.
Just testing. I saw that last week, and I figured let's do it different today.
Dope. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how this works.
Sounds good, man. Well, welcome, man. It's good having you here. I was just giving a quick message. Not sure if you were listening.
Yeah, I was on.
All right, perfect.
All right,
so
this is what we got.
So for this week, what I wanted to do is really nothing specific. I really wanted to connect for this episode today. It's just to see how everyone's doing. Have a quick discussion in terms of where everyone is at mentally, how everyone's doing emotionally, physically, of course. Finance, we always leave that, right? That's last, because if we're not right in the head, if we're not right emotionally, then what else is, right? So I'm hoping that we can actually have people connect and get on the live if they feel comfortable. Don't feel forced to get on the live. If you want to engage in the chat, please feel free to do so. If you want to keep it anonymous, on the bottom right corner, you have the bubble with the question mark. Feel free to drop your question or any statements, and we'll be more than happy to read it out loud, give the best answer we can or best advice.
For real.
Yeah, so I mean, the things that were running through my mind, big bro, this week was, where are we mentally? Where are we emotionally? Um, we all know where we are financially, right? We all know where we can be financially. Same thing mentally, right? But not all of us are going to admit, not all of us are going to be open, not all of us are going to be, not many of us are going to be like open to discuss it. And for this episode today, I want to make sure that people know it's okay to discuss and to be open about it and to have someone that you can talk to, right? Because it's very important for you to let it out. Because the more we hold in, the more we tend to blow up, right? And that's one thing that we are trying to avoid, right? What we're trying to avoid here is to fix a situation and not make a situation worse, whether it's within or externally, right? Whether it's internal or external, we have to make sure that we focus on letting it out, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through speaking to yourself through a mirror, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through writing, whether it's through music production, right? Recording, whatever it is, just make sure you let it out. It's very important to let it out, because how are you expecting to heal if you don't speak to yourself? If you don't try to figure you out, if you don't speak to someone to help you figure yourself out, right? Or to figure out what's going on with that situation, what's going on in this season that I'm in. What is it that I'm doing wrong? What is it that I'm doing right? What is it that I should continue to do to help improve this situation? What is it that I can do to eliminate habits, to establish a habit, to then focus on improving them, right? So it's multiple things. Now, the reason why I went mayhem there was because that's exactly how my mind feels, right? When there's like 1,000 thoughts running through my mind on top of the responsibilities that we have when it comes to bills, when it comes to our children, when it comes to our partners, when it comes to any hobbies that we may have, when it comes to gatherings, right? Business, personal, whatever it is. We have so much going on that sometimes we forget about us. We forget about what we feel. We forget about what we have to prioritize, right? What we have to make priority in order for us to keep going. In order for us to keep going. And that's very important, because I failed in the past. I failed today, right? I always put my feelings first. I always put my thoughts first. I always make sure, and I learned this the hard way. The reason why I put it first is because there's been many times in the past when I failed to do that, and I've made a situation worse. I didn't know how to communicate with someone. I didn't know how to express myself properly. So I waited for that moment where I blew up in order to let it be known. And then I finally learned, man, that was a big mistake. Why? Because I could have done it different. I could have expressed myself different. How? The words I used, the tone, how aggressive I was at the moment, right? Gestures, whatever it is, because sometimes there are things that we can say to people that is actually going to make the situation worse or even hurt them more, or hurt someone who's not even hurt, but that stays with them. And so there are many things and many situations that an apology won't even fix. It takes time for for certain wounds to heal. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to really give it some thought. Give your situation, your season some thought. Really sit back and give yourself time to think. Heal. Some of us don't know how to. We don't know how to, or when it's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. Sometimes we get desperate. We really get desperate, And the more we understand situations and ourselves and others, the more we can avoid. In other words,
if you've been hurt by someone today or this week or sometime this year, just let it be. Feel it all the way. Cry if you have to. Make that phone call if you have to. Send those text messages if you have to, you know, as long as it's not harassing someone. But if you need closure, go for it. But eventually you're going to realize in that process of whatever decision you make, in that process, you're going to learn what you should stop doing or what you should continue to do, what to do, what not to do. You're going to learn these things in the process, and it's okay. It's okay to feel weak. It's okay to feel what you're feeling right now. It's okay to feel confused, right? Because how are you going to know what confusion is if you don't go through it? But then the beauty of it is, how are you going to know what clarity is if you don't experience confusion? How are you going to know what clarity is? How are you going to know the results of situations if you don't actually let yourself go through it? Because it's really how you're going to grow through it. And it's okay to go through it. It's okay. And you're going to realize it when you're on the other side, looking back. When you're able to look back at your past and tell yourself, man, I can't believe I went through this. But I do believe how strong I am because I got through it. You can actually learn from these situations, learn what you did right, what you did wrong, or what you had to do in order to get through it. But most importantly, to help the next person get through it. Someone in your life is going to need your help eventually. One way or another, they're going to need your help. How do you think people start gaining wisdom? You got to live and learn in order for you to gain wisdom. So what am I trying to say by that is, let yourself go through it because that's exactly what you need. And someone else might need it in the near future. You're taking all the hits, but you're also helping someone else avoid all these hits. You're going through the unnecessary situations, but you're going to help the next person not go through these unnecessary situations. Because maybe it was something I said, maybe it was something I did that caused us to get much worse. There are relationships out here that we want to fix. And really what we should be doing is letting go. Sometimes we want to force things. We want to force into fixing something. When really, there's no way to fix it. And sometimes by fixing it, the decision you have to make is to let go. It'll make a situation much better by letting go. There are other situations that you shouldn't let go. You should continue to fight for that friendship, for that relationship, for that job, for that raise, for that car that you want, for that business that you want to open. I'm talking in general here. But never let yourself be drained or belittle you all because of what you've been trying to do and you haven't accomplished. What do I mean by that is live and learn. It goes right back to what I just finished saying a few minutes ago. Live and learn. It's very easy to fall into dwelling. It's very easy to fall into a dark place. But what's really hard is to learn, to let go to the point where you can actually step out of those dark places, out of those dark thoughts, out of those depressive moments. That's the hard part. But it's so easy to fall into it. It's so easy to relapse. And again, the more we talk about it, the more we can help each other out. The more we're able to do for each other and for ourselves. There's going to be decisions that you're going to make in the next few weeks, months, year, that are either going to make you or break you. And we're all there. We all go through it. You're either going to be made or you're going to be broken. But let me tell you, if you're made, you're going to appreciate it. If you're broken, are you really going to stay there? We only have a few more weeks till the year is over. We all have New Year's resolutions. Are you going to dwell on what you couldn't accomplish, what you promised yourself last year for this year? Are you going to sit there and dwell? Are you going to dwell on the attempts you've made to succeed but failed? Are you going to dwell on that relationship that you've been fighting for days, months, years, and it's come to an end? Or are we going to wake up and are we going to fight for happiness? Are we going to fight for overcoming obstacles? Are we going to fight for building faith? Are we going to continue to realize the character building moments and situations that we've gone through this past year and how far we've come to still be here breathing, to be alive, to be able to think straight? And for those who can't even think straight and you're watching this video, today that ends. You have a way, and you have that other chance. I'm not even going to say second, because many of us, we're past the second chances. Because again, you're still here breathing, you're alive, and you have to be super grateful for being here and being able to change your future. Most of us are stuck in a mental prison because of all that I've mentioned in the past few minutes. Full of impossibility, when really anything is possible. Your healing, your clarity, your success, no matter how much failure you've experienced this year, no matter if you're heartbroken, no matter if you lost it all and now you have to start all over again. Be grateful that you're able to start all over again, because there's people that aren't here with us. And when I say aren't here with us, I'm not even talking physically. There are people who are gone due to homicide, suicide, prison sentences, but you're here free to do it as you please. It's time for us to wake up. There's already enough people out there killing each other. And when I say killing each other, it doesn't always mean literally killing each other. Blood laying there with no life. I'm talking about really hurting each other, not really helping each other. There's people doing others dirty. Whether it's a partner cheating on another, whether it's a salesperson cheating a customer, a client, whether it's a boss not giving you the raise that you deserve, whether there's a boss out there firing you to hire someone else, whether you have someone who you think is your everything, but they don't appreciate you or anything that you're doing for them, or they haven't even appreciated anything that you did for them. We can take this multiple ways. We can come at it different angles. I'm trying to touch everyone here. I'm trying to reach out to everyone here. That we have a way to heal. We have a way to get out. We have a way to overcome. Overcome anything that we're going through. This season that you're in is temporary. It's temporary. We can't control inflation. We can't control the prices of products, of our necessities, the food that we eat. We can't control it. But you know what we can control? Is how we think of it and what we're going to do about it. It's how we think of it and what we're going to do about it. It's the mentality and our perspective. Big bro, I know you have a lot in you right now, so go ahead.
There's a lot actually, but I think it all comes in. It's all encompassed in one point. Once again, this is a conversation where it comes into a matter of perspective and a matter of identity. You need to have the perspective and the identity of, this is who I am. This is what I'm meant to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is what I'm allowed. This is what I'm capable of, right? And the problem is that too many of us have allowed ourselves to be told by everything else around us who we are, what we're capable of, what we can do, how we should feel, how we should react, and all this other nonsense that goes on. Identity is a huge issue. Huge issue right now. And that's the reason why most of us are suffering the stuff that we're suffering. It's just point blank period. It's not sugarcoating it. It's telling you the truth. If you're encountering a lot of these issues, which I think the majority of people are, you're typically, what I'm seeing right now is that there's a line that's drawn in the sand. Those who understand who they are, their identity, what they can do, what they're capable of, that there's no restraints in terms of how they feel, that they can put that out there, of course, albeit in a respectful way, right? All these different things, you start to check off these boxes, you start to see that they're living a different life than people that want to be jailed in their mentality of how they think that they need to live based on what they're being told by everybody else and everything else. Because it's not just people, it's systematic, right? It's a personal and a systematic thing. So I'm gonna break it down to you. First of all, not sugarcoating it, it's the honest to God truth. Sorry if it offends you, but I'm here to speak the truth. I'm here to speak God's truth. If you're not walking with him and you're not trying to figure out what he wants and what his will is for your life, what it is that he wants to do, you're going to be frustrating yourself. It is what it is. This ain't no sugarcoating. If you think that you don't need Jesus and you don't need God's direction and you don't need to find out what his will is for your life, you're wasting your time. You're going to be banging your head against the wall, and everything else in the world is going to be telling you who you are and what you're capable of and what you can do. That's what it is. It is what it is. If you don't like it, keep doing what you do and keep thinking about why you're stuck in the spot that you're stuck in. And you're going to see that that it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Why is that? When you understand that God's will for your life is different than what everybody else is going through, right? You will realize you're not meant to be living the way that you're living. The world is telling you that you need to submit to that. You need to resign yourself to that. Yo, you know what? The best thing for me to do is go to college at all costs, no matter what the cost of these student bills. It don't matter if I'm gonna be paying these student loans until I'm 60. That's what I need to do in order to be successful. Who's telling you that? Because if you're not conferring with God, this is not to say that you don't need, and because this is a thing between what you need to do and what a system or people are telling you to do. God might be telling you that you need to go study, because believe me, there's people that like mad knuckleheaded out there. They got no clue on anything and have no knowledge on everything, on anything. And God is like, yo, you need to study. I've heard people get prophetic word on like, you are going to go study for this over here. And it might be something that the person is interested in. So gracious like that he can tell you, yo, you need to go study. He's going to provide for you to go study. But some people be getting themselves into a bunch of stuff that they have no business getting into, because they're like, well, everybody else is telling me that this is what I need to do. And they live a life of a headache. You got people that'll be like, yeah, what you need to do is you need to find yourself this kind of woman or this kind of man. Yo, bro, just because this is not a one size fits all thing. God made each one of us individual. He made each one of us individually. He has numbered the hairs on our head. He knows exactly how many hairs we got on our head. He knows the details. He intricately knitted you in your mother's womb and all that stuff. So he knows who you are. He designed you. What does that mean? He knows the kind of person that you are because he designed you that way. Jay Mejia is not the same person as me. He made me a certain way. He made him a certain way. He made Corinne a certain way. He made Josh is on us. DJ G.I. Joe. He made each person in their own way. So what that means is we're not all told, we cannot all be told, yo, this is the kind of person that you need. Bad idea. Because a lot of us are chasing a supposed perfection that does not exist. I hate to break it to you. Maybe you're stuck in this. There is not a perfect person for you in terms of like, yo, somebody's going to check off all the boxes. And when we build this relationship and when we get married and when this and when that and blah, 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 this is all going to be perfect once, and forever. It's a lie. I'm sorry. Those kind of fairy tales don't exist. You know why? Because God made each person different. And the thing is that we're all living in some sort of sin. So what that means is if we were all living in the perfect design that God has for us at all times, 100%, there wouldn't be any clash. But because we're people, I'm sorry, just because I'm a pastor does not mean that I don't make mistakes. I'm dealing with the same thing as y'all. It's the same thing. Everybody got their battles. The enemy attacks people differently. You get tempted, all these different things. He knows what he's hitting you with. You mess up every day. What that means is that because we're not living in 100% perfection with God, there's always going to be conflict. Some way or another, there's going to be some sort of conflict. So even if you find the person that God has for you, if y'all are not walking with God together the right way, you are going to clash. It is what it is. You know why? Because you yourself, we're selfish. Until we die to ourselves, we're selfish. So there's always going to be I want things this way, you want things that way, because we all have our own wants, our own needs, and all this other stuff. And boom, what happens the moment that you have some sort of disagreement? If the person that you think that you need to be with is not really the person that you should be with, yo, that's going to be a mighty nice battle y'all going to have. Because you're not going to see eye to eye. It's just not going to happen. That's what happens when you decide to go for something that wasn't what God willed for you. It wasn't what God wanted. He permits because he's a gentleman in that sense. He permits, but that doesn't mean that if you're walking in the desert that he's going to be with you. Because some people be like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go into the desert. I'm gonna go and fast for 40 days and 40 nights. Bro, if God ain't calling you to do that, good luck sustaining yourself because he didn't tell you to go there. So how you going to handle that? Yo, this person opened this business. They opened this franchise or they went ahead and opened up a food spot. I think I'm a good chef. I'm going to open my food spot too because, they're doing really good. They're making crazy money. You know why they might be making crazy money with it and why they might be successful? You don't know if God gave them the direction on what they needed to do with that business, down to the very location, down to a slogan on what to say, down to every single detail that they need. And as a result, they're going where God asked them to go and he provides for them there. Next thing you know, you're like, yo, but I'm a better chef than they are. Word, but if God don't give you the location, if he don't give you the ideas of what to put on the menu, if he doesn't tell you, yo, go advertise over here, go advertise over, if he does not give you the ideas, it does not matter how good your menu is. That other person might have the worst Dominican food you could think of, in your opinion. But if God placed them in that spot, they'll be successful. And even though you might be a million times better, you're going to be struggling. You're going to be banging your head. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. You're going to be all these different things because you never decided to go and ask, where do you want me to be? What is my will? Yo, check it out. Personally, those that know me personally, know that before I started doing this platform, before I started pastoring, before I started doing any kind of preaching, giving even an announcement at church or whatever, I was a type of person, mad reserved. I did not talk to people. Jay Mejia, you know this. You could introduce me to somebody. It did not mean that I was going to talk to you. I was always the type of person naturally that I need to feel you out because I don't trust. It's just something that I did not do. I don't trust. So if you came, yo, that might be your boy, might have been your boy for 10 years. That's cute. But I'm not really going to pay attention. You really got to win me over. We don't talk like that. Much less was I going to go preach, to tell y'all that when I started serving at church, my thing was money. Let me give as much money as I can. And in certain things that I could help technologically, because I was always a person that God blessed me with technological ability, like things that people struggle or even go to school for 4, 5, 10 years on computers. It was like, I knew it. God placed that in my brain. Like it was what it was. You know what I'm saying? So where people needed to do things, where people would study, I didn't have to study for that. I didn't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I already knew it. God ingrained that in me. I knew. So, but the thing about that, to see how it was, a lot of times when you're a technical person, you might not necessarily be the most like people kind of person, right? Yo, when I was supporting, I remember when I first started serving in the church, this was, I want to say maybe like 12, 14 years after I became a Christian. Bro, I was a background Christian. That means you didn't catch me in the auditorium with everybody else. I was stuck in the room, and I was happy being stuck in the room. I didn't want to leave that room. I didn't want to talk to people. I was good being there because I was serving God in my own personal space. And believe me, I had a relationship with God. It's not the relationship that I have now, but I had a relationship, my relationship. And it was like, I do not want to leave from where I am. I'm happy there. I'm good. Fast forward. Forget about how much money I could have made or I could make from a technical perspective, from a IT perspective and all that stuff and all the abilities that God gave me. Forget about hiding in a back room. God called me to get out of that and serve people. That's a complete 180 of what I am. In other words, right? If I did that by my own efforts, this wouldn't work out. It just wouldn't, because I'm not naturally a people person. It's not me. That's not what I do. You know what I'm saying? Because my design was is a certain way. But God said, your design might be this way naturally, but you're dying to that, and you're going to be the creation that I made you to be. And this creation is somebody that has to care for people. This creation is somebody that has to go, give my message. This creation is something that you got to do what I'm calling you to do, not what's easy for you, what I am calling you to do. God can have us do a number of different things, and you can do a bunch of stuff yourself. But I always tell people, if you're doing it yourself and God ain't calling you to do it, you're going to be struggling. You're going to be banging your head. You're going to struggle because you're doing it by your own efforts. But it does not matter how terrible you might naturally be at something. If God called you to do it, he is going to anoint you to do it. And there's a difference between talent and anointing. So you got to seek him first and foremost. If you don't want to hear that, I hate to break it to you. It's the truth. You can walk in the truth or you can walk in a lie. Doesn't mean that the road's going to be easy, but it means that there's a degree of peace when you're going through it, right? So first of all, you got to understand that this is not about you. It never was about you. You got to be in tune with, what does God want me to do? And let's go. Have him reveal to me what he wants us to do, and let's go. And that's the first and foremost. Number two, once you start to have that kind of relationship, you are going to come to the understanding of who God made you to be. Most of us don't realize that God made us to be somebody who has dominion over everything on the earth. Everything. Doesn't say that there's exceptions. It means everything. So, you want to see how that works? Joaquin, man, bro, I love the fact that you brought inflation, because we got hit here in the United States with a 0.75% rate hike, which means mortgages are going to go crazy over 7%. Loans that businesses are taking out come down to the consumer, all that, right? Check this out. I do not care if there's inflation, because God already showed when there was lack all over the world, all over the world, all over the world. If you don't get it, I'm talking all over the world, okay? When there was lack all over the world, there was famine all over the world, God took somebody that supposedly was going to be in prison, supposedly was going to be there in Egypt in prison because his brothers betrayed him, put them there in a bad spot to eventually put him as essentially the top dog in Egypt, where the Pharaoh is just like, yo, I'm the Pharaoh, I'm the king, but you're in charge. Not an Egyptian, an Israelite. You know why? To be able to show I could place anybody that I want right at the top. And you know for what? Because when there's famine and inflation and all this other stuff, if I place you where you need to be and you trust me, you will not lack. And that's exactly what happened. You want to know why the Israelites are alive right now? Why the people of Israel are alive? Because that person was put in that spot. He was put in the spot of being over all of Egypt. God gave him the discernment to be able to say, yo, there's going to be a time of greatness where everything's going to be flowing, but you need to save what's happening there because there's a time of famine coming in 7 years. And you need to have so much that people are coming to you to be able to get. And if you understand that, listen to what I'm telling you. There is a time that was good. And if you're smart and you're walking with God, he can put you in a time where not only does he provide for you, but he provides an abundance to be able to bless everybody else so they can survive. Bro, you know, you and I talked about this. God gave us this message months ago that no matter what we are seeing in the moment, we are going to be put in a position to provide for others. I don't know what that means. That could be that we're going to be millionaires. That could mean that he gives us his knowledge to be able to manage good stewardship in what we're being given so that others can be provided for, right? But the bottom line is people are going to come because they need to be provided for. That's a difference. If you understand that you have dominion over all of that, inflation, increased price of gas, increased price of food, and everything that goes with it will not scare you because you have dominion over everything. Why do you have it? Because God put you in a spot and he's not going to leave you hanging. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it means that he's going to provide and he's going to do something. He is going to do something because of the fact that you're obedient. But you need to understand that you have dominion over those things. At the same time, why do we have the majority of time when it comes to our feelings? Why do we have conflict? You want to know the main reason why we have conflict? Because we internalize the things that we're feeling because I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I don't want them to look at me mean. I don't want them to think that I'm this way. I don't want them to think this way about me. I'm worried about what they're going to say, what they're going to do, what they're going to think. Yo, you need to understand God gave you feelings. He gave you, a way to feel. And if you're in line with him, that does not mean that you're not going to be angry. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be frustrated. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be sad. That doesn't mean that God is magically going to eliminate all your feelings. But what it means is that he lets you know how to manage your feelings. Big difference between the two. Oh, does that mean that I'm never going to be angry? What about when I feel that anger? Yo, Jesus felt anger. Jesus felt anger. Most people think, that Jesus was some sort of like pushover. Like, oh, I'm just going to take everybody's crap and let them do what they do. That wasn't him. You know how many times he was like, yo, how long do I got to be with you guys who have no faith? Seriously? How long do I have to suffer here with you? Yo, that's not a nice way to put things. But he was given the truth. He was putting, not in a way to sin against anybody, but he was relaying, this is the emotions that God has me feeling, and I'm going to relay it. Why? That might have hurt, but it taught those people a lesson. And it made them think, wow, what are we doing wrong? It gave those people personal reflection. You know, he flipped tables. I mean, for you to be flipping the table, you got to be pretty upset. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, sadness, he felt sadness. There's 3 times biblically that it's written down that Jesus wept. I'm going to give you one of the times that you could see that the weeping, I don't know how many of y'all, I know in my case, it's funny, my son is very similar to me. When he gets angry, and I'm talking not like regular anger, I'm talking like next level anger. He cries out of the frustration, out of how angry he is. He starts to come to tears because he's so pissed off. He's so angry. You know what I'm saying? That's me. But a lot of it would be because I would let it bubble up and all that stuff. I want to give you guys a quick example. As he approached Jerusalem and he saw the city, this is speaking of Jesus, he wept over it. And it said, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it's hidden from your eyes. What does that mean? He's looking at this city and he's like, this has got to be, I imagine that this is frustration. I'm here crying. Jesus is here crying because if you guys only knew, if this city over here only knew what could bring peace to their lives, if they only knew, but it's hidden from you. Like you can't see it. You're stuck in this prison and you can't see what could possibly bring you peace. And I could tell you, I understand that because there's been plenty of people that God has guided me and I've given them a word. God gives me direction. Sometimes it comes for advice. Other times it's God giving me the advice for them directly and I give them something. And I know this has happened with other people and you see them still going down the wrong road. You're like the frustration because you're like, oh my gosh, yo, why are you not listening? Because there's nothing good down that road for you and you're still going down the road. And the worst part is I know how it's going to affect you. I know you're going to be sad. I know you're going to be angry. I know what's going to happen to you. I know you're going to lose money. I know that you're going to, this is going to affect your marriage. I know this is going to affect you with your kids. I know this is going to affect all these relationships and you are going to suffer. I don't want you to suffer. And guess what's going to happen? When you suffer, eventually you're going to come back and you're going to come back for advice over something that you decided to not listen to that would have saved you the frustration. And that is aggravating. That's frustrating. But you know what? When Jesus felt that kind of sadness, that kind of aggravation, yo, he wept. How many dudes, I want to really put this at guys right now. No, I can't cry because that makes me look soft. Yo, I'm not telling you to like be, some sort of sissy or something like that where you cry over everything. Because believe me, I've seen dudes on the opposite end of the spectrum that just be crying up a storm for nothing, It's like, it's not even a thing that's how you really feel. It's for show. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you to be that. But yo, if you got that sadness, let it out. I have unfortunately seen people drawn to addictions because they won't let the sadness out. Drawn to depression because they won't let the sadness out. The same way that you can bottle up anger and eventually one day you explode, you can bottle up sadness, and that's not going to lead to a good place. You got to let it out. Jesus wept. He wept. It is what it is. He wept. So stop thinking that because you're a dude, that you're like super macho man or whatever. Let it go. Let it out. You're designed to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make you less of a man. There's a lot of really strong men in God who wept. In fact, when they went through such suffering, they would tear their robes in anguish. You know what I'm saying? Understand that you are okay to let out your feelings. And one other thing, bro, before I pass it back to you, you need to understand when you need to let go of something. It could be people, it can be jobs, it can be businesses, it could be situations, it could be whatever. You need to know when you need to let go of it because it is not being fruitful for you. Jesus went to a tree expecting to get fruit from that tree, expecting to get figs from a tree. And when that tree had nothing on it, he was like, I damn this tree because you do not fulfill the purpose for what I need you for. Right now, I needed you to give me fruit, and you didn't. And because you didn't give me fruit, done. You got to die. Boom, done. And as of that moment, that tree withered up, done. Right? Some of y'all need to understand. And this is, again, where you got to ask God for direction and have him show you what it is that he wants for your life, who he wants you surrounded by, where he wants you in a job or a business, how he wants you to manage things financially. And I can tell you this from personal experience, what financially he wants you to start to cut out of your life, because it's a money pit for you. It's something where you're throwing your money, and it does not need to be done because it is not allowing you to be fruitful, and it's not fruitful for your life. You don't want to hear it. I want to have 20 subscription services. That's cute. How is that being fruitful for your life? Talk to me about that. I got Hulu, I got Paramount Plus, I got Netflix, I got Amazon Prime Video, I got blah, 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 blah. I got Spotify and Apple Music. Fam, be honest with yourself. When you're binge watching, how productive are you being? And I'm not even just talking about productive from a work perspective. Where's your time going with God? Where's your time going with family members? Where's time going with your spouse? Where's time going for you to stop? Maybe it's not even a thing with people or money or business. Where are you maybe taking a moment in the binge watching to pull yourself away from that, have a moment to connect and reflect and realize, yo, I got some anger inside. I got some sadness I ain't let go of. I got this stuff, and I'm getting a moment to stop and reflect because the binge watching is no longer here to dull the pain, right? Or the alcohol's not here to dull the pain, or the blunt's not here to dull the pain, or whatever. This female is not here to dull the pain. Whatever it is that you're using to dull the pain, what are you doing to allow that thing that is not allowing you to be fruitful, but is also not being fruitful for your life? What are you doing to analyze it for a second, to be like, yo, you know what? Now that I got this time to myself and I got a chance to take like 2 steps back, and I'm kind of like analyzing my situation, and I'm realizing that I'm not happy, with my life, and I'm realizing that this is not working, and this is suffering over here, and that's suffering over there. Where are you stopping to be like, yo, there might be a problem here? What's the problem? Because sometimes you might realize that it's something that you haven't let go of. But because you don't allow yourself to be alone, to be able to reflect on that, you're filling your time with stuff that's not fruitful in order for that to remove the fruit from your life, because you're not being productive and you're not being fruitful. If you were being fruitful, where are you prospering in that area of your life? Again, prosperity. A lot of times people take prosperity as just meaning money. I want you to remove that from your brain. Prosperity is not about money. You can be prosperous financially, but prosperity is not about money. There's plenty of people that will tell you the fact that I have time on my hands to be able to do what I need to do, that time is worth more than that money. Perspective changes that. You know what I'm saying? So where are you with that? Because you might realize I'm not being fruitful in anything, because if I was being fruitful, my relationships would be prosperous. My job or my business would be prosperous. My ministries would be prosperous. This would be prosperous. That would be prosperous. I would start seeing prosperity in all the things. My health is prosperous. You know what I'm saying? There could be so many things that could be prosperous in your life. But are you stopping to see, yo, hold up, what's stopping me from being fruitful here? And I think a lot of times we can analyze that. But check that out. Jesus damned that tree. He was like, you're not being fruitful. I'm going to let you die right now. We need to be honest with ourselves and have that moment of reflection to be like, is this friendship being fruitful for me? Like, stop and analyze. What is the purpose of my friendships? Ask God for direction. What's the purpose of my friendships? And those friendships don't necessarily have to be with just friends. I'm talking about any kind of amnesty that you might have with coworkers, relationships you've got with family members. Sorry, your kids are exempt from that, and your spouse is too. That's something. That's your ministry. Your family is your ministry. You need to understand that. And if you're somebody that's abandoned that, again, I hate to break to you the honest situation here, but you need to focus on that, because your first and foremost ministry that God gives you is your family. That's a topic for another day. But look at everything else. And you need to ask God, yo, these friendships that I have, now that I'm stepping back, not quite seeing the fruit in here, how I'm being fruitful to them and how they're being fruitful to me. What's the purpose of those friendships? You might find out that out of 10 friendships that you got, God might be like, yo, I really only want you in 2. You need to cut out those other 8 because they're not, that ain't it. That's not the move. As much as you don't want to hear it, hanging out with these cousins over here, there ain't no fruit there. Of course, you can't disassociate yourself from family, but you could pull back, take yourself away. Of course, all of this being respectful, right? And it can happen with business, and it can happen. Some of y'all might be told, this church over here is not where it needs to be prosperous for you. There's no prosperity here for you. There's no fruit here for you. They're not being fruitful for you, and you're not being fruitful to them. It's time to move. As much as churches sometimes don't want to hear that, and people in churches, because of religious mentality, gets them to think that I'm supposed to be here forever. God can place you somewhere forever. He could also say, you're going to have seasons. I'm going to put you here one day. And another year, I'm going to put you here. And 3 years later, I'm going to put you there. You don't know where God is going to take you, but you need to be willing to allow God to move you like the wind wherever he wants you to go for the time that he has appointed for you to be there. But most of us are suffering anxiety, frustration, depression, stress, all of which leads to bad stewardship of finances, bad stewardship of health. A lot of things that are unhealthy. I'm going to focus on health as a key word. A lot of areas of your life that are unhealthy because you're too mindful of what people are going to think, how they're going to react, how they're going to feel, how they're going to express their feelings, how that's going to then in turn make you feel, how that's going to potentially make you look to others, and we can continue to go down the road not realizing when God gives you direction, he didn't care how everybody else thinks. In fact, usually when you're walking in the direction that God wants you to go, you are going to encounter opposition because the enemy, who's the one who's in charge of everything here, right? Trying to run the show down here, he doesn't want you to be fruitful. So he's going to try to throw things at you that'll try and get you all up in your feelings. So you can be like, I don't want to do this no more. God asked if you would be obedient. He didn't ask about everybody else's feelings. So if he tells you, yo, leave these friends because that ain't working for you, let it go. They're not for you. And you're gonna hear the noise. Oh, this person, yo, look at how they are. Oh, they're mean. Look at, yo, we ain't never done nothing but be a good friend. Word, just because you were partying didn't mean that they were being a good friend. Sorry. Right? Being a good friend is not being there and helping to spend the person's money. Knowing that what they should be doing is taking care of a family at home. Manning up to their responsibility at work. You need to draw the line and realize their feelings don't matter. God had something for you. Let that other stuff go. You're going to hear the noise. But are you willing to listen to God, or are you willing to listen to the noise? Are you willing to listen to their feelings or God? Are you willing to listen to your own feelings or what God is telling you to do in obedience? Because the heart will lie to you. Believe me, the heart will lie to you. Your emotions will lie to you. And this is where I'm going to go to females real quick. Y'all need to be especially careful of that. And I'm going to tell you why. Look biblically at who the enemy typically has tried to have fall. It's usually a female. The enemy will usually try to attack the female to bring down a kingdom, to bring down a family, to bring down whatever. Because the enemy knows men are not moved as much by emotion. And you females know this because a lot of times you're asking for more attention and like the dude doesn't get the hint. Trust me, guilty, right? Because we're not as emotional. Like that's unfortunately not how God has designed most of us, right? Doesn't mean that we don't have emotions. It just means that he made God made men certain way, women certain ways, how it is, right? But the enemy knows to play on your emotions. So if you're not careful, the enemy will attack your emotions to take you away from the obedience that God wants for your life, right? So especially, I don't want my friend mad at me. Bro, I've heard that both male and females. But a lot of times the female take out a little bit more to heart. Because like, these are my girls. You know what I'm saying? Better watch out. I've seen friends rip women out of their households over some emotional stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, I've seen those same females be like, I don't know why I fell for that emotional stuff. It is what it is. You have to be careful because the enemy will play on your emotions. You don't want to hear it. But male and female, he will play on your emotions. That's why you got to put on that armor. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have emotional moments. We're all guilty. We all have there's times that I get angry and I'm like, yo, I don't even know why the heck I got angry, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? It's understanding yourself and everything like that. But the noise of everybody else, the noise of the system out there, the noise of what a society will tell you, the noise of what your family will tell you, the noise of what your friends will tell you. It can even get down to the point of what your spouse and your children will tell you. You gotta be fine. You gotta have that relationship with God. Find out what he wants you to do, because you will be attacked by everybody else. The enemy will use everybody else. And if you don't believe it, again, I can go biblically. There's wives who have tried to lead the husband down the wrong road because they didn't believe in what God had told them to do. There are women who almost didn't receive a blessing because the husband thought whatever was happening was funny, and God had to shut their mouth because they didn't believe. So their lack of the faith could have stopped something. So God had to shut the dude up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be speechless. We ain't playing that game here. You know what I'm saying? But it's all about obedience. Have that relationship with the Lord, ask for what he wants you to do, and be obedient to that. Everything else is noise. And you have to understand that. And once you understand that, it does not matter everything else that comes. You're going to find yourself more at peace. You're going to start seeing stress starting to melt off, right? You're going to start to see anxiety starting to go away. You're going to start to see all these different things that used to bother you start to go away. It doesn't mean that you don't suffer a few moments of it, but it means that you very quickly, in a short amount of time, will come back to reality and be like, but I know that I trust him. And the fact that you trust him will give you peace. And you're going to have people telling you, well, you're dumb. You're foolish. I don't know why you're thinking that. I don't know why. They're going to give you a million and one opinions because everybody else thinks that they're an expert on everything, which tell me how that's going. Are they prosperous in everything in their life? How's their marriage or relationship going? How are their kids doing? How's the job going? How are they serving the Lord? Are they doing ministry yet? How's that going? You seeing fruits there? Start to analyze their life, and I guarantee you those same people talking don't have it all together. Those should be the last people trying to give you advice. Unless the Lord gave them advice for you and you discern that that's coming from God. Big difference there. That's something that some other day we'll talk about, being able to discern when God is speaking, when it's somebody else with their nonsense, or you yourself with your own nonsense and emotions where we get wrapped up, right? But it's the honest to God truth. You were meant to have dominion over everything. You were meant to express the feelings that God gave you to feel in a moment where, if you're not sinful, you're expressing your feelings, but you're making sure that your feelings don't sin against anybody, because God doesn't want your feelings to sin against anybody, but he did give you emotions and you put it out there. And if you're walking alongside him, you can have those feelings and you can express them, which is going to make you feel like a huge weight is off your shoulders, right? And I can guarantee you, for those that are far away from God, it's going to hurt their feelings. They're going to be upset. I can't believe he said that about me. I can't believe she feels this way. But eventually it will work for their good, because it comes from God. And at the same time, if you say that to somebody who's trying to have a relationship with the Lord, who's trying to walk alongside him, they might not like your feelings, but God will give them the revelation as to why you feel that way. And it will also work for their good. But it's all a matter of perspective. But bro, you were absolutely 100% right. We need to have freedom. And a lot of us are stuck in a prison. And we're going to, prisons are usually, like, prison cells are usually small. And they're designed for you to kind of like feel like you're being punished, like you're going crazy. There's not many places to go, right? So as a result, you can feel depressed. You can feel anxious. You can feel this. You can feel that, because you don't know how long you're going to be there and all the things that are happening outside and everything else. And you start over-analyzing in your life. And this is no different. And we need to break out of that. And a lot of us are not breaking out of that, and we're stuck. This is a night that if you wanted to hear it and you want to receive it, you have an opportunity to be free. But you need to understand, this is about relationship. This is about obedience. And this is about not caring about anything else that goes against the obedience of the direction that God gives you when you have the relationship. And you could take it or leave it. If you take it, you're going to start seeing over time the fruit of things, no matter what. Doesn't mean that it's easy. Little bro, you know that it's not easy. You know it's not easy at all. But it gets easier from the perspective of, no matter the situation, I have peace. It's a hard situation, I have peace. I have peace. I have peace. Try it. But I can guarantee you one thing. If you choose not to try it, how long you're in that prison cell depends on you. And you can be in that prison cell as long as you like. Nobody's forcing you out of that cell. But things will not get better. They might get better for a small season, but you're always going to circle back to the same nonsense. How long you circle back to it, how long you're in that prison, is entirely up to you. But you need to decide, who are you? What's your identity? How can you feel? What can you share? God will give all of that to you, but you got to make the decision on what you're going to do. If not, you're going to be stuck in it. You might not want to hear it, but you're going to be stuck in it. And it's a very simple decision to make. So I'll leave it to you, little bro.
It was major, everything you said. Everything you said was major. Again, the change is not going to happen overnight. So you have to take baby steps, right? And like we mentioned in the beginning of the live, you have to establish that habit, that change, whatever it is that you want to change. Take your time going towards that direction, right? If it's so hard for you to make those changes in your life, whether it's to remove someone from your life, to remove yourself from someone's life, trying to figure out if this job is for you, trying to figure out your situation in general, take those baby steps to figure it out, right? Feel everything that you feel in those moments. Take your time, because the change will happen. but it's going to happen in God's time. It's God's plan. It's basically, you have to go through it to figure out whether it is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. Right? But it all starts with you, though. You always have to look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself. Meditate, exercise, just to minimize the amount of stress. If you want to gain clarity, you have to feel all the way. You want to gain clarity, you have to accept the situation. Accept it. Sometimes we don't want to accept certain things that God wants to change in our life. All the way from, but I've been doing this job for X amount of years. How am I going to walk away? What else is out there? Doesn't mean to get up and leave your job, but put yourself in situations with people, or put yourself in places that you may gain an opportunity to figure out, you know what? If I would have known this all along, I would have started, this hobby. Right? And again, we've been in these situations in the past. It seems almost impossible to overcome. I've seen myself, I was a major knucklehead where I thought I had everything figured out. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted. There were situations that I was in where I never saw myself out of it, or I never saw myself without this person, or I never saw myself without this job because this job makes me feel a certain way, and the status and the way people look at me. It was multiple things where I thought I had it all figured out. How many of you agree where you think you have it all figured out? You feel like life is supposed to be a certain way because you've worked so hard towards the life that you have. Not giving yourself room for growth to see what else God has for you moving forward. So I think it's major. We have to really, really look at ourselves and look at our situation, and whether it's going to hurt to make that change or not, you have to make the change. Again, it's not always going to be comfortable. Change is not always comfortable. You got to get real uncomfortable to make those changes, to grow, to be different, to help someone get out of a situation, to help yourself get out of a situation. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to suffer.
As you say that, little bro, it just reminds me, I don't know why I'm thinking this. I'm sure God's giving me the direction, but it reminds me of, I remember when my oldest daughter was maybe like 4 or 5, there was this thing that they would sell that was essentially like a butterfly kit. They would give you like a caterpillar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And within a certain amount of time, it was supposed to turn into a butterfly, right? And the process of that is not easy on the caterpillar, right? And when you think about a caterpillar, they move slowly. They're restricted. They can't do much because they're moving so slow, right? And then they got to make that decision to, go into that cocoon state, right? And then out comes the butterfly. And what happens with the butterfly? You got complete freedom. You fly wherever you want. You're doing what you were designed to do, right? And you get everywhere that you want. But I remember we had a few that would turn into the butterflies. And then we had some that for some reason would never, in the time that they were supposed to turn into that cocoon state, they just would never do it. The ones who chose not to go into that cocoon state died. And they died pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it is what it is. It's what happened because they weren't designed to be that way for that long. They were meant to go through the process, endure the difficulty, and then fly. You know what I'm saying? And they were, for whatever reason, they were being themselves But I guess they must have been happy being a caterpillar because they had the same food, they had the same everything. There was no difference. It's just they made a decision not to even start to go into a cocoon state. You know what I'm saying? So as a result, they had a terrible, they died. And they lived their whole life going slow and never having the freedom of flight, of go wherever I want, of the fact that I'm going to be released. It's funny because that kit, you had them essentially in like almost like pretty much like a butterfly cage, if you will. And the whole process, the whole thing with that kit was you were supposed to, once they turned into a butterfly, go outside and let them free. So those small caterpillars that decided never to turn into that cocoon state, even though they had everything that they needed to be able to do it, never knew what it was like to be free.
It's rough.
They never went through the difficulty to find out what would make them free, what freedom would truly be like. So they were born and put in a packet, which is essentially a jail, lived in that jail, died in that jail, never finding out what they would really become and the freedom that they would have in becoming what they were going to become. And it's the same thing with us. This is why we're talking about you make a decision. You can continue to be in this prison. And believe me, this society will allow you to be in this prison that you want to be in as long as you want to be in it. In fact, some would even argue that it's to their benefit for you to be in the mental state that you're in. And if you don't believe it, go talk to a pharmaceutical company about how much money they make on antidepressants. That's a booming business. They don't want you to be cured. They want you on the pill. You know what I'm saying? They want you taking the medication. They don't want you off the medication. It's what it is, right? There's companies that will never tell you that, hey, go do this instead of buying all these different products and trying to show out, because this could lead to financial freedom down the road. No, you know why they won't tell you that?
The business is in the treatment, not the cure.
It's profitable for them to have, believe me, when I was making, digits, bro, you remember? New iPhone every year, new Apple Watch every year, new this every year, new that everything was new, every time, new. We were going just newness, constantly, consistently, newness, show out. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. It was like we were going everywhere. Again, people were there to spend the money. You know what I'm saying? But, bro, I could have continued that. But you know what? Those companies were making money off of me. How was I benefiting them? And if you want to see, again, this is so you can get an idea of your worth. I'm going to take an iPhone as an example, right? I knew people that would buy an iPhone, every 4 years, every 5 years, maximum every 3, right? Wouldn't buy any laptops, wouldn't buy any iPads, bought no other products from Apple but their phone, right? If you ended up with my wife was notorious for dropping her phones in cups of tea and dropping the phone and everything. You would think with how much I would spend on product, right? If I walk into a store needing a repair and somebody who buys one device every 3 or 4 years comes in with the need for a repair, right? If you're deciding to do the favor for somebody, right? Who should you take care of more? The person spending the most money for you, for you so that you can make more profit, right? Because you want to keep them as a good customer. You want to continuously get money from them, right? Or would you take care of the person that rarely buys from you, right? Bro, I had people drop their phone, and one person went to the beach with the phone in their pocket. and got water damage on the phone and then took it to the store. Another person dropped it in accidentally in a pot of boiling water. I'm talking rapid boiling water. Both of those people, when they went to the store, just came honest. Hey, got this phone. I had this issue. I went into the beach with it. I dropped it in a pot of water, whatever, boiling water. And you know what? Those Apple Genius bars, right? People went and changed out their stuff for free. They didn't even have to fight with them, bro, at all. But me being the person that was spending thousands a year, and when people wanted something new, they would normally come to me and I'd buy it. So it looked like it came from me, right? Bro, I would go in there once every 2 or 3 years. Yo, check it out. Wife dropped this in a cup of tea. I know you did this for some other people that hardly buy from you. And I'm a real good customer. If you look on my account, on my email address, you'll see all the stuff tied to it. Bro, in the span of like 3 years, I think I spent probably like 15,000 or more. I mean, you were talking about good customer. No, we can't do anything for you. You got to pay full price for a repair. Word? Serious? It's like that. There's nothing you can do? Nope, nothing you can do. Why do I mention that? Some of y'all are buying phones every year. Some of y'all are buying every new pair of J's. Some of y'all are buying a bunch of handbags. Some of y'all are buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. I hate to break it to you. They do not care about you. They don't.
That also means they're investing in the wrong things, you know?
And you're investing in the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Again, you got to shift the mindset. Shift the mindset, because a lot of us right now are enslaved to things that are not fruitful for us. In this case, not fruitful for your wallet. And then you got to ask, why am I doing it? Some of y'all is because you want people to tell you, yo, is that the new whatever? And you just get the feels when you're like, yeah, I'm the one rocking it, and you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be careful with that, because not only is it not fruitful for you, but it might cause your brother or sister around you to stumble, because it makes them want something that they don't need to be focusing on right now. You know what I'm saying? Again, this is why we ask God for direction on everything, because that truth will set you free. He may have you analyze. Bro, again, I love the terminology that you put. Look in the mirror. The biggest lie that we tell ourselves, your feels on how your friends might think, how your coworkers might think, how your family members might think, and how that feeling comes back. I'm glad that you mentioned looking in the mirror, because a lot of times the biggest one that you won't want to listen to is when I look in the mirror and I notice that I'm doing wrong, that I need to change. Some of us don't want to hear that.
Many times we have the answers right in front of us, how we've mentioned briefly throughout the episodes. The answers are right in front of us most of the time.
And that truth can set you free, and you don't want to listen to it.
We tend to set it aside.
You know?
We tend to set it aside for sure. And funny enough, as we were talking, you were talking, you know, the last thing I'll say is this. I'm glad that we brought this topic up for today, because I'm sure there's many of us who are going through it. Many of us who are actually full of fear, full of doubt, and we need the answers, right? Sometimes we need to hear it from someone else. Many of us have to wake up and know that there's better on the other side. The answers are right in front of us. We have to take action on it, because no one else will. No one else will. And it's something that we've been dealing with for many years. Even our ancestors, right? Sometimes it's even generational. It's carried over to the next generation, which is why it's up to us to make the change. To change the mind shifting, right? The change in perspective. It's painful. It's painful because sometimes while we're in the process of changing or improving, we make certain decisions that aren't right. Some of us make the decisions that are right? And it turns out well. But we live either way, whatever side you're on, we live and learn at the same time. Now, the most painful part of it is this, my opinion is this, is stepping out of the comfort zone that we're in. That's mostly the hard part, right? Stepping out of the comfort zone. Sometimes most of us are settling for less, which is another issue in multiple areas of our life. If you think about it, we're either in our comfort zone and we don't want to get out of there. We don't want to step out of there because it's just going to get more difficult and life is hard as it is. And I don't need any more to deal with more. No, you have to step out because that's the only way your situation and you yourself are going to change. And you're going to change it not only for yourself, but for others who come your way or for your own family. And settling for less can take away a lot. Now, sometimes we think by staying in the comfort zone or settling for less, there is relief. There are solutions. Yeah, but they're short. Again, my opinion, short term. When we stay in our comfort zone and we decide to settle for less, all we're doing is causing more long-term problems, more long-term issues. So we really have to be careful with that. Big bro, I want to go ahead and read these comments. In the
meantime, little bro, see what we got.
I also want to go ahead and, just let everyone who's watching, if you want to go ahead and join the live, anything you want to say, a testimony you want to put out there, anything, it doesn't really matter. Feel free to send a request. We'll be more than happy to join, to put you on the live. Now, for those who want to ask a question or they want to say something and keep it anonymous, bottom right corner, you have the bubble with the question mark. Feel free. We'll be more than happy to read it out loud and answer the question to the best of our knowledge, or give the advice the best way we can. Either way. So, all right, let me go ahead and look at these comments. We have Corinne. Wow, I'm exactly the same. You have to analyze people first. She was agreeing to what you said, how, the type of person you are or who you were, how you have to feel people out, know who they are before you can actually open up.
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong, wrong with guarding yourself,
Yep.
It's just one of those things where in this case, Corinne, like I mentioned before, God called me to do something else. And a lot of times God pushes you out of a comfort zone. Doesn't mean that that's something that you need to do. Because for some of us, God will really have you designed that way to be careful about how you might get hit. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Amen. Say it loud. That was Corinne again. He will let you see it too if you don't listen. And then Corinne again, she put out a situation that she had. I had an unfruitful friend once upon a time. I ended up becoming close to her again. And since I didn't take myself out, he took me out of the way. He looks out for us, and sometimes we are just stubborn.
To her point, I'm glad that she shared that. Because again, I mentioned earlier, God will, God, he's a gentleman, right? And he'll allow you to go down that road, right? But at the same time, you need to understand God is at work and there's things that God needs to accomplish. And you might go down that road, but there might be the point in which God needs to remove or whatever he wanted to accomplish, whatever was his will. It's kind of like, all right, time to stop this. For those of y'all that have kids, it's kind of like when you tell your child, like, yo, you need to do this, or this is going to be the repercussion that you're going to have. But you out of the kindness of your heart, you let it slide, you let it slide, you let it slide, you let it slide. And they continue to get worse and get themselves in a little bit more trouble. Eventually there comes a part where you got to be like, yo, yank, it's a wrap. I told you this was going to happen. Boom.
This is
have
it.
A seat. It's like, that's what happens with us. If it's in his will, it's like, there comes a part where it's like, yo, you had enough free reign. Got to take this out your way because you're being stubborn. So thank you for sharing that as well, Corinne.
Then we have Jael. Inflation, recession are not the currency of heaven. The pandemic didn't quarantine the Holy Spirit, and current events won't affect the promises of God. Amen.
Amen to that.
We don't see what he sees.
Facts.
Then Jael once again, preach, Pastor Carlos. Yes, we females can fall prey to emotional triggers. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, it's just one of those things to be honest about. Everybody's designed their their own way. He designed men, male and female. It's going to happen, but it's good for us to know what we're, first of all, how we are typically designed as males and females, how he made us, but at the same time, also knowing how he designed you personally, because you might be exempt, or you might be even a little bit more prone to it, so it's knowing yourself, but he'll reveal who you are.
I feel it's more like that, says Corinne. And Corinne, once again, I feel as a Christian, we get that vibe when we feel uneasy spirits. Sometimes we don't listen. And listen, that's one thing. It's funny. I finished mentioning this about a week ago in a conversation that I was having, and something that I've realized in the past few years, and I've accepted this. So, we have people who say, oh, there are people who are antisocial, this and that and the third, whatever people's opinions are or their perspective on certain situations. To be honest, there's situations and places that I'm not in or near people because of the spirit, the
Yep.
uneasy spirits, right? Because how uncomfortable, and not only because of what exactly I felt in their presence, but also the things that come out of their mouth, right? The way they treated or treat others, right? Because there's many times that we witness other people saying things about others or treating them a certain way that's really not nice. And we fail to actually think this. They can treat us the same exact way, or someone that we love, or someone that we care for, right? And even someone that you don't know. You shouldn't be treating people unfairly, right? As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, there's a lot of people out here who are cheating others.
Yep.
And in multiple areas. It's not just relationship. I'm talking about in general. If they're doing that to other people, what makes you think that they won't do it to you? So the second you feel uneasy, remove yourself. Don't allow yourself to be in that place. If you're labeled antisocial, great, because first thing is first, safety, your mental, emotional, and spiritual health.
Yep.
Everything else comes after. Everything else.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback, I think I know exactly what Corinne is mentioning here. I give the example of my youngest daughter. For years, I think for like a couple of years, worried that maybe she was autistic or something, because literally, like, let's say that somebody was right here next to me and they're trying to get my attention. They could be saying her name, and she would just, like, if she didn't want to deal with you, she would just look ahead and not even acknowledge your presence. And it didn't matter that you were right next to her, trying to talk to her, calling her name. She would not acknowledge your presence. She just wouldn't. Well, fast forward to the future, we find out that she is very sensitive spiritually to a lot of things, which makes it think, when we look back at the people that she would ignore, there were people that later on showed certain traits that you were like, in retrospect, you look at what she was ignoring, and it was kind of like, I believe, my wife and I believe spiritually that she was probably like, spiritually, she was sensitive to it and was like, the best thing for me to do is not even acknowledge that you're here. You know what I'm saying? Because I know spiritually that you are not bringing anything good to the table, and I need to shut this down before. Don't even entertain the fact that you're calling my name. I'm not even going to entertain that. Just focus ahead. You could be talking to me right here, but I'm going to focus ahead. And even if you try to get in front of my face, I'm going to just turn. Because she would do that sometimes. Because it would be a thing of like, I am not even going to acknowledge your presence. And it's like, man, what does she know spiritually, though? You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? She's had, when they evaluated her, they were like, there's nothing wrong with your child at all. Nothing at all, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So I get it. I completely understand that, Corinne.
Definitely. That's amazing how young they gain that ability, and they're so aware. It's just that they're unable to express it. So it's a huge blessing. It's a huge blessing. And soon enough, you'll know in a few years when you have those conversations, best believe She'll let you know exactly what was going on in those moments. Well, here we go. That was actually all the comments. Just giving it a few more minutes for anyone. If there's anything you want to drop in the chat, anything you want to say in the chat publicly, right? Open. Or if you want to keep it private, go ahead. You have time to go ahead and drop a question, drop a statement. Anyone who wants to join the live, once again, you're more than welcome to do so. We'll be more than happy to have you join us on the live. Anything you want to say is fine.
While we're waiting for anybody to hop on, if they do, or
What's
to
up?
put any comments, I do want to share, I want to extend an invitation to anybody that's in the Houston area. If you have, whether you're a youth or you consider yourself a young adult, our church, the church that I attend, the church that I'm youth pastor at right now, we are about to head out. Like, the church that we're within is planting us as our own church. So we're actually going to be heading out of that church and into our own thing. But before we do that, God had given me some direction in terms of where we were going to go with our last youth service, which turns out that it's going to be our final service ever, like our final get together service, whatever you want to call it, in that building, like ever. Is going to be a period of transition. But God gave me the direction of, not just include our youth, but young adults as well. So if you feel like, I've got a kid who I think can receive a good message, or I believe, like, I consider myself a young adult and I need to receive a message for my life, in our last service, we are going to have a major Christian social media influencer that y'all probably have seen. If you watch people's stuff online, like Christian messages online, chances are you have seen this person, because they got hundreds of thousands of followers. Some of their posts have millions of views. God had put it in my heart to reach out to them, and I told him, like, pray about it, because God showed me something. If you pray about it, you feel that God gave you that, we want to have you here, to do whatever you want to do. They do Christian rap, but at the same time, they also preach. And they put out a lot of things out there to make people aware. If you feel that you want to have your kids receive a great message, or you as a young adult want to receive a great message, I want to extend the invitation. Hit us up, DM us, DM me. I will get you the information. It's going to be next Wednesday, but it's going to be I know this person, me and their people have talked through email, gone back and forth, and they're like, God put it in our heart. Something major is going to happen that day. People's lives are going to change. This person's going to go ahead and instead of performing, I don't know, they might choose to perform. They might not. I don't know. Nice. But what I do know that they're going to do is that they are going to preach on that day, which is not something that I don't think they do that often. But they want to go ahead and give their testimony. They want to preach that day. It's going to be a huge blessing to you. So if you feel that you need that for your life, hit me up, DM me. I'll get you the information, and we'll look forward to having you. But at first, we were just going to do it for the youth. Then it was kind of like, the young adults too. So I'm extending the invitation. If you know somebody, you want to come along, whatever, hit me up. I will get you the details, and it's going to be this coming Wednesday, the 28th, I believe, is the day. So Wednesday the 28th, 7 o'clock here in Houston is going to be major. I know those that are going to be coming are going to receive. And God's bringing us a major social media influencer, I know, with a purpose to do something great there that's going to be sending out a bunch of people from that place that are going to be like transformed, changed, talking about like getting yourself out of that prison mentality. You're going to come out of that the right way. And it's just going to be major for your life. So be expectant. If you're going to join us, be expectant. And if you're interested, let us know and be expectant there as well. But I want to go ahead and put that out, extending that invitation, because what God's going to do on that day is major. He's bringing somebody big for a reason, for a reason.
And Big Bro, I'm sure you'll be most likely recording that session, right? Or will you be streaming it?
I'm not sure if we're going to be streaming. Okay.
All right.
God hasn't given me direction on that. And
okay.
At the same time, that's something that I'm going to leave up to that artist to see if it's something that they want to do. If they want to do it, and they feel like God has given them to do that, then yeah, you'll see a few things on social media. But don't hold back if you're in the area and it's something that you feel that you want to receive, or you know somebody, like maybe it's your own kids, maybe, you know, it's whoever. Don't hold back thinking like, yo, you know what? But maybe they'll stream it though, because there's no guarantee that there's going to be a stream, and you don't want to be
And
caught
it's
later
best
on.
to be there. It's best
Yeah,
to be there.
and it's going to be best to be there. You don't want to be caught later on like, yo, man, there was going to be major blessing there and I missed out, you know? Again, this is not just teenagers. We're having young adults, which young adults usually is like once you pass high school all the way up until the point you get married, you know, I've got, you know, we even have people in like their early 30s that make it there, and just know you're not exempt. We want you guys to join us. We know it'll be a blessing. So if you feel that that's for you, hit me up. We'll get you details. We're looking forward to seeing a bunch of people be blessed. You know, it's all about life transformation. You know what I'm saying? So our blessing is not that we receive. We're not, you know, there's not no offering. There's not no tithing. There's none of that. We're not asking for money. The main thing is for y'all to come receive a real message that day that's going to impact your life and start to see people's lives transformed. And y'all have seen this person do it with videos that they post. I'm expecting it's going to happen here as well. So come receive in person. It's going to be fire.
Nice. Just make sure DM and you'll get the details. So you said Wednesday, 7 p.m., correct?
That's right.
Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's only a few days from now. Only a few days. I think we're good, big bro. There's no more messages. Is there anything else you want to put out there, or?
No, bro. I think
We're
God
good for
went
today?
direct, straight to the point in terms of what He wanted to do. God willing, you and I get a chance
Do
to
it.
bring people a new experience on YouTube. But again, I want to motivate, if you have not done it already, like you mentioned in your bio, there's the info.
Yeah,
Please start joining up, because we don't want to, you know, as early as next week, launch with YouTube being the primary platform,
that's
and
right.
Facebook and Instagram being the secondary ones where you still receive, but it's not the primary one. We don't want y'all to be missing out because you didn't sign up and you don't know. Some of y'all have already subscribed to the channel, so we're good to go there. Not worried about it. We're good money. But some of you guys haven't. And last thing we want is for you to have it, you know, to have an inferior experience because you didn't sign up for it already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So please, takes you 5 seconds. Click on the Jay Mejia bio. You know, fill out the form that he's got. You'll receive the info. We'll keep you updated from there. And you can just hit subscribe on the channel, hit a little bell notification, and boom, you're in there. You're going to be like, yo, this YouTube thing is so much better than doing it on the gram.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So don't miss out. Don't miss out on laziness or stubbornness. You know, you're going to be more aggravated down the road that you didn't do it earlier. So,
And it
I think it's going to be a blessing.
doesn't require for you to have an account, right? Which is also
Exactly.
a good thing.
Doesn't
So-
require accounts and all that stuff, just for you to know, you know, just for you to know that it's there. Everybody got YouTube on their phone nowadays, bro.
Mhm.
Everybody, you know. We're not
Yep.
asking you to sign up for Facebook accounts. We're not asking for anything. We're not even asking for paid promo or nothing like that. It's just
No.
about get on the platform that's going to benefit you the most. It's going to benefit you the most. So we want to upgrade, and we want you guys to join us in the upgrade so you can be blessed in the upgrade. So don't hesitate. Don't hesitate.
And it's going to be so much easier too if you want to share the live with someone who may not have a YouTube account. It will open up in their browser, right? Versus if you send a request
Exactly.
through Instagram, they would have to create a username in order to have access to our live. Or video.
Exactly. Even if they said, yo, but I don't want to install the YouTube app, which everybody got YouTube. But even if they said, I don't want to install it. Or, you know, I know some people that are like, yo, I don't even want my child. I don't want my child having no social media. I don't even want them on YouTube, whatever. But it's like, yo, but I might be willing to share that link. Even if they don't have the app, if you share it to them, it will open up in the web browser and they can view it. And because the content is friendly, it will allow them to view it. So again, it's eliminating limitations so that you can open it up to more people and bless their lives. And be blessed yourself as well with the convenience of being able to switch between apps and do whatever you want, or just turn off the phone screen and still receive what we have for you without worrying about being tied into the gram, you know what I'm saying, or Facebook.
Definitely. And once, like Pastor Carlos mentioned, there's a link in my bio. You'll see the links there. You have two options. You can sign up for the emailing list or for the texting. It's up to you. If you want to go ahead and drop your number in the list, we'll be more than happy to send the links over whenever we make the transition. Same thing via email. And once again, please send out these lives. Please share our content with anyone who may need to hear a message. We are all having a hard time. We may be having a hard time. And even through good times, it's just great to share this type of content because more people need to wake up. More people need to learn. More people need to heal. More people need to appreciate their process, the process that they're currently in. Whether it's good or bad, they need to appreciate it. So just go ahead and send over the live. Please share it via DM, via text, via email. Whatever it is, just make sure you pass it. Or tag them. Tag them. If you don't want to take those extra steps, it's easy as just tagging them right under, right on the comments of the video, your most favorite video, your most favorite message. Pretty soon we're going to start taking clips and we're going to start promoting it so you can all receive a good message, right? We're going to put those messages out. Really appreciate those who join us on the live on a weekly basis. Appreciate those who engage in the chat anonymously. For those who have joined us on the live in the past and put out great testimonies, and we're looking forward to continue to engage with you, to share our thoughts, put our testimonies out, and just continue to grow the platform in ways that, man, it's just going to continue to bless others in general. Seriously. So thank you all for joining us. Once again, we're on every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast. Please make sure not to miss the next week's episode 44. 44. Like I said, we're not going to stop. We're just going to keep going. And that's something that we should all do on a daily basis, no matter how hard life may seem or get. And remember, patience is a virtue and faith is the substance. That's the daily reminder. Patience is a virtue and faith is the substance. Appreciate you all. We'll see you next week, Thursday.
God bless you guys.
Amen.